The Knicks won the championship. We didn't even talk about that. The Knicks won the championship. New York was crazy. Fireworks for like, this is just bad juju. Like, I don't want to mess. I don't want to be messing around if the plane is just like not good.
And try to fix it. Then we smell something, and it was like smell like smoke or some shit like that. So then they shut that shit down. They had someone come fix that. But on a higher note, All-Stars coming around. No break for you. You got your for the 8th time. Take the All-Star game itself, because there's been a lot of arguments on the NBA side of like we got to play harder. It's obviously a competitive. There's gonna be a lot of eyes on this situation. Adam Silver just came out the other day and said like, listen, we need to make a decision because we got to start making a schedule. He draws
right off the top. Stewie drops that the Knicks won the championship and New York had fireworks going off for a week straight. And honestly, that's a great little reminder of how big that moment actually was, since it barely got mentioned outside basketball circles compared to how the city reacted. Then it pivots straight into World Cup fever, with both hosts genuinely hyped for a Spain-Argentina final. That's a real cultural moment two pro athletes are excited about outside their own sport, and it sets a great tone before the show gets into the heavier stuff.
I only got one question. I got one question. We'll talk about the rest later. How long did you have the ring for?
I've had it since last summer, actually. I was thinking about doing it last off season, but we got all the way to the NBA finals, right? So it cut the off season short. So obviously I wasn't complaining, but I knew for a long time that Asia wasn't one for me, and I think everything happened in very perfect timing. So I'm very happy with my decision. I'm in a really good space, and we're just get to exist now, man. It's pretty dope.
Miles gets straight into it. Engaged to Asia, a year and a half of planning, everything going perfectly. My take: that's not a small thing to pull off quietly for that long while being a public NBA player. And Stewie immediately zeroing in with, how long did you have the ring, is exactly the right instinct. That's the detail every fan actually wants to know, and it sets up a genuinely fun back and forth.
Like, this is my first like actual travel situation, like hard travel situation since we've had charters. But we got to the plane. You know how it is. Like, you do your little security, you get right on the plane. Like, usually you're on the plane for 20 minutes and then you guys will take off.
Right.
And we were waiting there, and I was like, what's going on? And they were like, we need to add more fuel because we're going to go through a storm, right? Okay. So we do that. Then next thing you know, this thing is not working. Something is not working. They can't get it fixed, can't get it fixed. Finally, they get it fixed, right? And now we've already been on the plane for 3 hours.
And the answer is wild. He's had the ring since last summer, but the run to the NBA Finals actually delayed his own proposal plans. That's a great little piece of context. A guy planning one of the biggest moments of his life around his team's championship run, and being completely fine pushing it back because of how far they went. It says a lot about priorities without him having to say it directly.
Like, this is my first like actual travel situation, like hard travel situation since we've had charters. But we got to the plane. You know how it is. Like, you do your little security, you get right on the plane. Like, usually you're on the plane for 20 minutes and then you guys will take off.
Right.
And we were waiting there, and I was like, what's going on? And they were like, we need to add more fuel because we're going to go through a storm, right? Okay. So we do that. Then next thing you know, this thing is not working. Something is not working. They can't get it fixed, can't get it fixed. Finally, they get it fixed, right? And now we've already been on the plane for 3 hours.
Then Stewie gets into the actual travel nightmare. Stuck on the plane, needing extra fuel for a storm, something breaking, getting fixed, then something else breaking. 3 hours in, before anything even moves. My honest reaction: this is exactly the kind of behind-the-scenes grind fans never see. And it's wild that a professional athlete on a chartered flight still deals with this level of chaos in 2026.
Ew.
So it was great to get fresh air after like 8 hours on that first plane. But then we get on the plane and we're like, okay, are we going to finally go? Like, we're going to get in super late. It's going to be like 1 a.m. already by the time we land. And then they're like, well, we don't have any pilots.
Oh my God, bro. Everything
our
that
other
could have went
pilots
wrong,
timed out,
Murphy's
right?
Law.
So the pilots timed out. And there was no more pilots coming. And they were like, this plane is not taking off tonight.
And then the actual punchline of the whole saga. After getting a brand new plane flown in from Phoenix, they finally think they're taking off, and there are no pilots left, because the original crew timed out. The plane literally isn't taking off that night. That's not just bad luck. That's a legitimately wild story, and it's the kind of thing that explains exactly why the league ended up rescheduling the entire game to Monday.
I totally understand where you're coming from. So it's funny that obviously sucks that it happened, but like this year was the most plane issues I've ever had, like in my 11 years in the league. Like I can count, I think it was 11 times that we had problems with planes and all similar stuff. Like, you know, I'd never been on a plane for 10 hours, bless your heart. That's crazy. But like, I remember it was the last game of the season. We had a shitty season and, you know, everybody's ready to get home at this point, right? It's the off season.
Yeah.
And everything that could have went wrong. Same thing. Like we get to the tarmac and then there's like a mechanic.
Miles doesn't let that story go uncontested either. He tops it with his own worst travel day in 11 years. A mechanical issue, then an actual smoke smell on the plane, then running low on fuel sitting on a live tarmac for 4 or 5 hours. My take, hearing two different players independently describe genuinely dangerous-sounding plane situations in the same conversation, is a real signal that travel infrastructure for pro sports, especially in-season charters, deserves more scrutiny than it gets.
Ew.
So it was great to get fresh air after like 8 hours on that first plane. But then we get on the plane and we're like, okay, are we going to finally go? Like, we're going to get in super late. It's going to be like 1 a.m. already by the time we land. And then they're like, well, we don't have any pilots.
Oh my God, bro. Everything
Our
that
other
could have went
pilots
wrong
timed out,
Murphy's
right?
Law.
So the pilots timed out. And there was no more pilots coming. And they were like, this plane is not taking off tonight.
Now here's the moment fans have actually been talking about. A shoe flying through the air in the fourth quarter and hitting Marina Mayberry after JJ's shoe came off mid-play. Stewie's take is clear. It wasn't intentional. It was a chaotic in-game accident, not a thrown projectile with intent. That's an important distinction, and it's worth taking her first-hand account seriously instead of just running with whatever clip goes viral without that context.
No, that's facts. Well, WNBA is pretty interesting this year. I look at it like y'all look like the Eastern Conference in the NBA. You know, everything is so kind of jumbled up right now. You only got the top 8 teams are only separated by like 6 games. Like, why is the league so tight this year? You know, what do you think is like contributing to that?
I think the margin for error is really small. I think that especially as we've had expansion, right? So you added team 13, 14, 15 over the past 2 seasons, and like that talent is spreading out, which means
And Miles makes a sharp media literacy point right after. If you're not actually watching the game and you just see that moment online, of course it reads as pure chaos. That's exactly the kind of clip that gets clicks regardless of context. That's a fair, honest read on how 1BA moments get amplified out of proportion once they leave the arena, and it's worth keeping in mind before piling on any single clip without the full picture.
LeBron's gonna go. He obviously said he's not going back to LA. Like, what's this? What's next?
Yeah, you know, it's obviously interesting because even at LeBron's age, he still wants to get paid, right? You know, he still wants to make sure he has an opportunity to go out on the right terms and win. You know, it's tough the way the league's been doing our stars lately, you know what I mean, when it comes to their exits. You know, we kind of saw the Carmelo Anthony treatment, you know, kind of what he got. You saw, you know, these guys retire and it's like not like a real farewell tour. It's almost like a, you know, get the fuck out of here tour. And, you know, Bron's one of the best, if not the greatest player, you know, of our generation. And, you know.
On a genuinely good note, Stewie's earning her 8th All-Star selection and 6th straight as a starter, and she immediately credits the fans, since fan voting decides the starters. That's a real deserved honor for one of the most consistent players in the league, and crediting the voting base directly instead of just taking the accolade is a small thing that says a lot about how she handles success.
No, that's facts. Well, WNBA is pretty interesting this year. I look at it like y'all look like the Eastern Conference in the NBA. You know, everything is so kind of jumbled up right now. You only got the top 8 teams are only separated by like 6 games. Like, why is the league so tight this year? You know, what do you think is like contributing to that?
I think the like the margin for error is really small. I think that especially as we've had expansion, right? So you added team 13, 14, 15 over the past 2 seasons, and like that talent is spreading out, which means
the parity conversation here is genuinely the smartest basketball talk in the whole episode. With 3 expansion teams added over 2 seasons, the talent pool is spreading out league-wide, and it's showing up as nobody blowing anybody out on a nightly basis. That's a real data-backed explanation for why the standings are this jumbled, and it's a much better answer than just, the league got more competitive, without any reasoning behind it.
I think that it just comes to the John being the league, but on a higher note, All-Stars coming around, no break for you. You got your, for the 8th time, 6th consecutive starter. Congratulations on making it. Just to tell the people, like, I guess what it means to be such a consummate and consistent starter, because that's something that's not easy to do, at the highest level.
Yeah. I mean, I think first of all, I would like to say thank you to the fans, because fan voting is majority of what gets All-Star starting, and really happy and honored to always continue to be representing the league. And
over on the NBA side, the LeBron conversation is the year's biggest storyline, and Miles' read is smart. LeBron's confirmed he's not going back to the Lakers, and there's real frustration in how the league has handled recent legend exits, drawing the Carmelo Anthony comparison directly. My take: for a player in the conversation for greatest of all time, that criticism about how farewell tours get handled is fair and worth taking seriously, regardless of where he actually lands.
All right, moving on. I know you just came back from like your world tour, but have you been able to kind of catch up on any summer league or watch the highlights? Like, what do you think about the rookies? Caleb Wilson, he seems to really be kind of the one that's going after it, and really, I think he's playing in all the games.
Yeah, no, man, it's been fun. I think this is a really good draft class, off rip, just to let you know. I mean, like, I was bummed when Caleb Wilson didn't play at the end of the year last year. He broke his thumb or something.
Yeah.
Because he was one of my favorite players to watch in college. He's got the right mentality. He's got the right frame, and he's a dog, man. He plays at he's playing at a really high level right now. So he's been fun to watch. I think Cameron Booth is as good as advertised. That's another, player's been solid over there in Memphis as well. I mean, AJ, Debance has like star written all over him because I think he's been prepared for.
And to close it out, Miles walks through the actual proposal moment, getting down on one knee, fumbling the ring onto the wrong finger at first, the whole scene coming together perfectly with the weather and the setting. That small human mistake right in the middle of a meticulously planned, once-in-a-lifetime moment is honestly the most relatable part of the entire story, and it's exactly the kind of detail that makes this hit different than just another athlete engagement announcement.
I was
you
really
weren't able to like enjoy it like the Star Wars part that you wanted to, right?
Not really, bro. Like, I was able to, put some stuff together and have fun with it. But, for me, I was just really ready to get it done, right? Because the entire day we had boated over from the hotel, and obviously it's all I'm thinking about and whatnot. And we finally get there, and at this point, like, okay, damn, it's game time, right? Funny, a couple like little things that went down. So I told the tour guy, I said, yo, listen, I need you to give me a keyword. Like, you're going to be talking about something, and when I hear this word, I think the word was like exclusive. Once I hear that word, I know it's time. So I had my security guard with me, right? And I had, he had the ring. I didn't have the ring in my pocket. So there was a couple things that were kind of giving it away, right? So we started the tour, and we went upstairs, and there was this fucking cameraman, bro. He was trying to hide behind a bush. And we get upstairs, and we look out the window, and there's this random guy in a bush. So she's like, that's weird. Right? And I'm like, oh my God, no way.